When I first, helping Dad fishing, I was so seasick all the time. I never thought I would become a commercial fisherman. Yeah, I was born in 1929. My sometime at the end of July, but I think registered as August the 1st. When I turned 65, I told my mother, why if I lost 1 month of pension just because of late registration, You kidding me? It was right in Steveston. I was born at Steveston Hospital, a Japanese hospital. Well, it was just like a bungalow type house. There was well, of course, our house was pretty big. I remember there was upstairs, no basement, of course, but it was quite comfortable. And of course, they all, if they got time, they'll fix it up. We didn't have a hardwood floor, but we had a nice plank, varnished and everything. So I guess it was quite comfortable. Being a fisherman's son, I guess my grandfather thought, well, he used to take me swimming all the time. But those days we never wore venis, so just nude swimming. And after that, I don't know how old I was, but he was, if I think about it now, I would never do that to my child or my grandchild. They used to throw me from the wharf into the water. I could just barely keep myself floating. I didn't know too much about swimming then. And he was a good swimmer, apparently, I guess, because he always wore bathing suit when he was doing that. And, either you learn how to swim, that's the only way. I never become a good swimmer, but that's how I learned. I think I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old at the time. So it was, I guess it was okay, but yeah, it was quite an experience. I never went fishing with Dad, because I used to get seasick so bad. But he rigged me up a net when I was, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old. He made me a chunk of net, and he took me out with a skiff when the commercial fishing was closed at one time. And I started fishing like that. And during the summer holiday, we used to go fishing. And whatever I'd catch, I'd sell to the cash buyer and made a few dollars that way. There was lots of fish those days. As far as I remember, we used to go out with a short net there and no problem getting 25, 30 fish. Well, those days, we always had a group at every cannery. Like, I was at Atlas and some at Gulf of Georgia. They have their own gang, and we did, well, what the kid do. Yeah, I remember I get pinched I was fishing Udigan. We had a net out outside wharf there, and there was an old man sitting there all the time watching. And we used to go and pick up the net before school, Udigan, and we used to just take it out to Chinese people farming, and we used to maybe get 10 cents a bucket or something like that. There was a lot of Udigans, so we went and we were picking up, and this old man was still there, and after he picked up the net and everything, he said he was a fishery officer. And we got pinched, and
How old were you?
I must have been about 10 or 11 years old. So there was three of us, and we had to go to New Westminster. At the time, I didn't know where New Westminster was anyway. So they gave me a piece of paper to take it to my parents and all that. But of course, my parents doesn't know what this is anyway. So somebody told us that we have to go to New Westminster for a court case. So I don't know how Mr. Atagi know about this, but he was the only one around us had a car. So he said, "Don't worry, we'll take you to the court." So I still distinctly remember Mr. Atagi. Well, he's gone now. He took us to New Westminster, and what they did was they told us, what you did is wrong. You didn't have a license, and all that, and And he says, well, you asked us to our age and all that, how long you been doing this and all these questions. And I said, well, I don't know. I've been doing it for a couple of years anyway. So anyway, they took us to the whole court and they showed us the jail. Said, next time you do that again, we'll have to put you in here. It kind of scared us, eh? So that's all they did. They never fined us, or it was just a warning. When the war broke out, they seized all the boats out there, and they were using this big rope, little rope, and we used to go there. That was, I think they were trying to make something out of that rope, making a mattress or something to do. That's what they told us anyway. So if you could get these rope, we'll buy it, So well, I guess we were not. Well, most of the kids was my age or younger, eh? And we used to go there at night and steal all those big manila rope. But we go and get these small rope from our dad's fisher, the cap, eh? We used to go and steal these small rope and then tie these big same boat with a smaller rope. And we used to steal those big rope and we sell it to the buyer, eh? But it was quite a thing, It takes a lot of room to hide those things before the junkmen come to pick it up, eh? But somehow we hide it, and we never caught doing it, so we were quite lucky. But of course, most Japanese parents, they didn't care because they lost, they're taken away anyway. So, but the only thing I always wonder was, not at that time, but after a few years later, how those same boats, if a storm would have come up, they would have, lost all those boats, eh? Tied with a nice small cork line, Well, we pull everything that we sold, eh? And when we were ready to evacuate, we had this money hiding. We hid it somewhere, and we had to split it up among the kid that was involved. And there was, I think we split close to $200 each, and that was a lot of money, So we split it up, and I think I kept that money for I don't know how many years, but yeah, $200, is a lot of money those days. And even if you buy a pop for 10 cents or whatever, I had a hard time keeping, hide that money so that my parents don't find out. But it must have took 2 or 3 years before I spent that. Well, our family went to Minto, and I think we remember going on the ferry to Squamish. And from there, we took a train to Bridge River. And I remember it was a dirty car. I think it was a coal car or something, because, when we got to a bridge, I think it got there around maybe early morning. And when we got up, we were stopped, and I looked out the window. It was a beautiful lake in front of us. I was looking at, and they told us, we all get off and go to the lake and wash ourselves. And we were looking at each other, and our faces were all black as coal dust, because it was in a coal car. So we went out there, and I used to get sick really bad, motion sickness. So from there, I thought that was our home. That was, a beautiful place. Well, this is not bad. This is a nice place. We were swimming every day and all that. But that wasn't our destination. We had another 2 hours on the car to go to Minto. So it was quite disappointing to leave Bridge River. That was a beautiful place, So after a while, in the afternoon, I think they took us on the stage to a place called Minto. Because all the houses there was beautiful house, stuccoed house, and some had full basement, and so I really don't know how much they had to pay or all that. But I don't know after I found out a few years later that how come we went to Minto, you know. But of course, you know, my mother's side family, they're all relatives, they all went there together, right, to keep the family together. So that's how we went to Minto, I suppose. But then we only stayed there for a couple of years, and then we went. You know, there was no work actually, just a sawmill that my dad was working on, and we had to find, you know, someplace else to go, I guess. And then we ended up in Taylor Lake. I wasn't just you know, nice good boy or anything like that. I was pretty rough, you know. I had my own way of singing. I had my group of friends that. So we had we had fun. We had fun and all that, but I never really, you know, got into school. And after we moved from Minto to Taylor Lake, that's in the Caribou, all my friends and my age that I went to school with before the war were there, and they were all working. So I told my dad, you know, there was school there, but I said, no, I'm not going to go to school now. I'm going to start to work. So I just started to work, and I never did go back to education at all. So. Yeah, that's when I was in Taylor Lake. We were cutting pulpwood, and my father and dad, my mom was working with my father, and I was working by myself. And we have a certain area that we work, and there was one tree that was not a nice looking tree. It was I didn't want to fall it, and actually it was my mom and dad to cut that tree, but they left it to me, so I was gonna fall to my area, but the tree was rotten, so it went toward them and went right over them. And I was so shocked I couldn't even give them a warning or anything. I thought I shouted, but they never heard it after they, you know. And the whole tree had lots of branches and everything, and went right on top of them. And I was in shock, and then all of a sudden, both of them emerged from the branches. They weren't hurt or anything. You know, if that wasn't a miracle, I don't know what is a miracle. There's no way they could have survived. I thought, you know, how could, you know, not even a scratch on them. And the saw, of course, it's a 4 feet saw they were using. They were sawing like this, and it went right on top of the saw. It broke the saw and everything, but they never got hurt. So I still even sometimes wonder, you know, about that. You know, what would have happened if I could have killed two of them there? What would have happened to our family? You know, with the kid and grandmother. So I thought, well, I even talked to my minister one time about this, you know. And if that's not a miracle or some help from the God, I don't know what it is, you know. But, you know, we were always taught that Japan will never lose the war. You know, that's all we knew. That's all they thought. Well, Japanese will never lose the war. And I thought about that all the time during the war. And I guess maybe I was more Japanese than any, you know. So, you know, it was pretty sad when the war, found out the war ended and Japan lost. You know, I said, well, geez, how come Japan lost, you know? But that was all we were taught when we were a kid, eh? Japan never lose anything, you know, Japan's the strongest country and all that. So, of course, you know, you believe that. War ended, and we were allowed to come out here. My dad was, of course, that's all he did was fishing before the war. So I had a car, and Dad wanted to come out fishing. I said, so I used to come out. I think the first time we came out, we had to have a permit to travel to Vancouver. I don't know what month that was, either April or May. So we came out, and my uncle, my mother's uncle, was here, and we looked around, and he told us that maybe, you know, you should maybe wait another year to go back fishing. It was, I don't know, it was discrimination was pretty bad, I guess. So anyway, we stayed here for a few days, and we went back home, and we started going back. I was on the truck at that time, driving the truck. So my dad was working in a sawmill. So another month went by, and I guess he always maybe thinking about going back fishing, so he wanted to come out again. So I think we made about 3 or 4 trips until we finally decided to buy a boat. So I think it was toward the end of July that we bought a boat.
What year?
1949. And well, Dad was happy with it. And so I said, well, I'm not going to fish. I went back to Vernon to my regular job there, and then somehow I got a message from people that's here. My parents' relative was fishing here already, so they got a message to me that my dad need me, so come out and help him. So it was in August, I think. So I said, well, I had no choice. I wanted to stay on the truck. I had a chance to buy a trucking business, and I put a small deposit on that trucking business, but to buy this truck. I knew this guy that had a trucking business in Lumbee, and he had the only H plate. I didn't know anything about those days, what the H plate meant, but the H plate on the truck is a license to haul anything at the time. And he was the only one that had this plate, the license to do this. So he was willing to, he wanted to retire, so he wanted me to take over. I went down to see him, and I told him, well, I can't, I have to go. My family's moving to the coast, and I can't stay here, and I haven't got money to buy her out. So, but anyway, thanks for giving me the chance to do this, but I just can't do it. So he gave me back my $300. I said, well, Jesus, that was, you don't have to give it back to me. No, he says, I don't have to, but you need the money more than I do, so you take this money. He was a real nice man. I was really cared too much about dating and stuff. I was more shy, I guess. But somehow we got together, and I don't know exactly what happened, but that's the first girl I met, and ended up, getting married after a few years. I think, if I remember right, I think there was 27 Japanese gillnetter in 1949. I think there was a few up north fishermen, but right in Steveston, we all stayed in the same place. Either my dad fished for a different company, but we just fished different company, but we always stayed together. I was going with my wife. I wasn't married, but I was going around with my wife. So I said, well, I told her that maybe I should try for a couple of years and see what happens. So I came out, and the following year we came out, and I've been looking for a boat, and Dad has already put in. So he got a new boat. I guess he must have done well, because we know that when he started fishing late, but there was one gentleman, Japanese gentleman, that used to work for this company that my dad was working for many years before the war. So he came and told me, you guys were the first fishermen in this cannery to get first 2,000 sockeye that year. So, so I guess the company was really happy with that. So I went to the company and I said, well, geez, maybe, if you buy me a boat, I maybe try it. So company agreed to buy me a boat. And so you could look for a boat. And then I found the boat I liked. So I went to the company and they financed the whole thing. Then of course, you have to buy the gear, the nets and all that. So I finished the season, and when I started with $3,200 boat, and by the time I finished that season, I owed the company $8,000. So, I was stuck in it, there's no way I could get out. So this company was a little different than the other company. They used to pay us every week. They gave me 2/3 every week. They keep 1/3 go to my account. So, I was never stuck with money because, I get 2/3 of what I catch. So it's better than working in a cannery or nothing, Every time, you make $300, you get $200 in a week. A few friends fishing for the same outfit, they were really good to me. And one of the family was a German fellow. He's still around. I see him once in a while. His name was Carliner, He was one of the real top highline fishermen in the coast here. And he's a real good friend of mine. He helped us, when we first come out. And sometimes I go without food for a couple of days. Well, too busy when you're in the peak of the fishing. And I was much of a cook at that time. I rather eat a chocolate bar or something, instead of eating regular food. So it was tough, but we really enjoyed it. I didn't like the crowd that much. The crowded fishing in the crowded areas. So that's when I got my different boat. I got a bigger boat, so I thought, well, maybe I should scout around outside and see. But I was in Namu one day and run into this patrol fishery officer, and he taught me. He showed me a lot of places, and there was a couple of places where he saw a gillnetter fishing out there. Hakujin gillnetters, not Japanese. And he says, this is a hot spot there. If you go there, you're going to catch a lot of fish, So he showed me on the chart and everything. So I decided, well, I got a boat that bigger than average boats, so I'll go out there and see. But 20 years I fished there. Not too many boats, they don't want to come out that far. But
Where was it?
outside of Calvert Island, place called, it was in the central area, but outside of Calvert Island. Fish that normally comes into rivers or smiths, they have to come through there, And we were getting that first crack at it before it come into the inlet. And of course, you're outside, fishing outside, so the weather could be pretty bad, rough weather and all that. So it was tough, but fishing, your first, I guess the fish come and then they're hitting the first nets, So we did real good. The first boat I bought, and the second boat, and the third boat was my dad's boat that I took over. And then the last boat I bought, I built it from a German shipbuilder that built 2 other boats for us. So he built 3 boats for our family. It's a fiberglass boat, and I had it. But when I retired, the license worth a lot of money. Not the boat itself, but the license was the thing, Yeah, I never thought I would be a commercial fisherman at the start, but it turned out good, I guess I probably owe everything to my parents. how they brought me up and how they told me, what the life's all about. And they never really sat down and told me what not to do, but I learned from what they did. Is all I could say. So it was really tough for my, not my generation, but my past. My dad's the generation was really tough for them. This redress came along. This guy named Tamayosa came and he tried to get somebody from Steveston too. So I wasn't really knew anything about this until he explained it what's happening. He was trying to get something to do with all the discrimination you people had and everything. So after few time I met him, we have no representative from Steveston. So myself and Mr. Hirose, he used to work. Used to fish. He's a fisherman too, but he managed a net store here in Steveston for many years. But we were the two from Steveston too. So we went, but of course, I was fisherman, so I missed a lot of meetings, but it was just during the winter months that I used to attend the meeting in Vancouver. I've seen all the hardship, during the evacuation and, all the places we went and how my father and mother and grandmother, they worked hard to support the family and all that. Just, with no reason why we're Canadian here. I was born in Canada here, and what we have to go through all that, all the things. So I thought, well, convinced me that we should do something about this, If we get compensation, fine. But I think the next generation should know what happened to our generation. And this was the main reason I really fought for this, All he's, wanted to do was, thank me and look after this. My younger brother, the youngest one, was still, he was married, but he said, well, to look after them and all those things. Like most estate people was like that. So I told him not to worry, everything's look after. So I was the oldest, so those days I guess oldest one look after the family, I guess. But now the fishing is so bad that there was no opening last year, and I don't think there's going to be opening this year for sockeye salmon. Yeah, so it's pretty tough for the commercial fishermen now. I don't think you can make a living fishing, commercial fishing. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, I fished all my life, and to see it go down like this is really disappointing. Yeah, I really enjoyed fishing, although there was a lot of hard time too. But it was hard on the family because I don't know how my wife managed. All the kids. She looked after herself, and there was time when I never was home when she was having the baby. So it was really tough on my wife, I think. But it's a seasonal thing, and you can't come home anytime you want it to. If the money's there to make, you have to stay. So it was tough on the wives, eh? Yeah, well, I enjoy going to the Buddhist temple. I like listening to the sermon and all that. It's very interesting to me. Not that I study Buddhism at all. I have a book, but I hardly read it. So, but I like listening to the sermon. But as a real Buddhist, I really can't say I'm a true, real Buddhist because I was never taught. I just went to the church and listened to the sermon and all that. I enjoy that very much. So I try to attend as much as I could even now. Yeah. But I never told any of my kids you gotta be a Buddhist or anything like that. No, I just left it up to a certain age. Come, they know what they want. You do what you want. But I told them I'm a Buddhist, and if I die, I want a regular Buddhist service. That's the only thing I told them. I don't think I have regret that I want to talk about. Well, my family's, my kids are doing well. The grandkids are doing well, so, I really don't have anything to worry about right now anyway.